Are you an amateur radio operator interested in digital modes on HF? Have you tried PSK31 and are looking for the next step? Well, JT65 just might be what you're looking for. Want to know more? I have answers. Welcome to Ask Dave, episode 41. I'm Dave Kassler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, here with Ask Dave, episode 41, and our topic for today is the digital mode called JT65. It's phenomenally popular, and for a variety of good reasons. Let's look at this diagram to see why JT65, originally designed for esoteric moon bounce work, has become so popular on HF. JT65 and its companion mode JT9 turn out to be designed to fight the weird ionospheric phenomena that plague HF propagation. However, the price that is paid for that is that it's very slow and conveys just enough information to count the contact as an official QSO. Some of the advantages are that it can work with very weak signals, sometimes signals we can't even hear. Because of this, it's considered a QRP or low power mode, and 25 watts is a very strong station, perhaps too strong. Because of this, it can work well even with compromised antennas, such as indoor antennas. Once it is set up, and I underline that, once it is set up, it turns out to be remarkably easy to use. It's possible to work stations at great distances with this mode. There are several software packages out there, but the granddaddy of them all is WSJTX, which is what we'll use for this video. The QSO exchange is very automated, requiring only occasional nudging from the operator. It's also highly formatted, which means no rag shoes. The signal format has a very high degree of forward error correction, allowing the receiving station to piece the message together even when lots of it is lost or garbled during transmission. The WSJTX software has a built-in rudimentary logging program that creates ADI files that can be imported by most major logging programs. Now, this makes it largely immune to the phase distortion that makes some PSK31 contacts impossible, particularly when the path goes over the pole. In fact, as you can get an idea from this video, a JT65 signal at any given time transmits one of 65 tones, all within about a 200 hertz bandwidth. You can see several signals that overlap. Oddly enough, JT65 can make sense of most of these. The tones are kind of weird, sort of like an orchestra that has too few instruments to play. Usually JT65 activity takes place around 65 kilohertz up from the bottom of the band, such as 14.065 megahertz on the 20 meter band. This video shows the WSJTX software. There is your classic waterfall, except this one proceeds much more slowly than one might find for other digital modes. This other screen over here is where the work is done, and we'll examine that in detail with an actual QSO. But first, we have to get the software. The actual URL is rather long. It's the physics department at Princeton University. So, Google WSJT-X. The top response there is the home page for the mode. Go ahead and click on it, and it takes you to this page. Now, I've added a picture of JT65's inventor, Joe Taylor, K1JT. Joe's a pretty amazing guy. He and Russell Allen Hulse shared the 1993 Nobel Prize in Physics for discovery of a new type of pulsar star, a discovery that has opened up new possibilities for the study of gravitation. Joe, if you happen upon this video, let me voice the gratitude of thousands of hams worldwide who are using your modes daily. Now, let's talk about the software. Joe and those who work with him to maintain and expand the software have included several other modes as well. Some are great on HF, some for moon bounce, and some for meteor scatter, and so on. Note that Whisper is now incorporated as part of WSJTX. Anyway, you need to download two things. Download the executable for either Windows, Linux, or Mac. Also, click on the user guide and then print it. When it prints, it turns into a nicely paginated document. You'll want a hard copy of this because it will likely take some study to really get the most out of this mode. Okay, so you've downloaded and run the software. In the File menu, you'll discover Settings. Let's take a look at a few important settings. First, under General, enter your call sign and your Maidenhead grid square. Note also the other checkboxes. You may want to check different things, but what I've checked is a good start. Next, under the Radio tab, find your radio, or a radio you know that has identical radio control. I have a Yaesu FTDX 3000, which is not listed, but it works the same way as the FTDX 5000. Now, the rest can be a bit tricky, but if you've already set up your system for digital modes, you'll have these settings handy. These include the COM port, the baud rate, which must match what your radio uses, data bits, stop bits, handshake, and control lines. In addition, the PTT method, and for some radios, the transmit audio source, the mode, and whether you can do split operations is also settable. When you set everything up to match what you've been doing for other digital modes, click on Test CAT. It should turn green if it's happy. Then click on Test PTT, meaning push to talk. Look at your transceiver. It should be in transmit mode, although it may not be actually transmitting anything. I point out that this is the page where most people will have trouble. And again, if you've already set up for PSK31 or other digital modes, you can copy these settings from your previous setup. Note also that if you're running other rig control software at the same time, WSJTX won't be able to find the right COM port, so operate WSJTX by itself. Okay, next we tackle the audio settings. Note that input means input from the radio into WSJTX, which the computer often describes as a microphone in many cases. Make double sure that this is from the sound card that you actually want to use. In my case, the sound card is right inside the radio already. Then look at the output choices. Outputs are often referred to as speakers. This is the audio from WSJTX that goes to the audio input of your transceiver. Okay, we're getting close. The last settings page is that of reporting. Go ahead, enable the log. Don't convert the mode to RTTY. Do put the DB reports in the comments. Also, under Network Services, go ahead and enable PSK Reporter. That will cause the software to send along to PSK Reporter all the stations that your station hears. Now, as a footnote, WSJTX wants the sound card to operate at 48,000 Hertz. From Control Panel, click on Sound, then Recording, then Advanced, and then use the pull-down to select 48 kilohertz, and then OK until you're back where you started. Now, we get to an interesting issue. It is vital that the software knows UTC, Coordinated Universal Time, to within 1 second. It looks to the computer's clock to find this, and frankly, most computer clocks are often off by several seconds. There are a few ways you can fix this. If you use the Windows method to synchronize time to a network time server, that's good enough for a day or so before drift is out of spec. So be sure to do that before each JT65 session. The software documentation discusses something called Dimension 4 from Thinking Man's software. This sets up a nice link to a network time server that updates the computer's time frequently. It turned out to be easy to install, and it's free for amateurs. Now we're getting closer to understanding the JT65 QSOs, but just a bit more background material first. What you see here is a complete JT65 exchange on HF. Note that it's highly formatted. Blue station K1ABC sends CQ, its call sign, and its 4-digit maidenhead grid square. In this case, FN42. It takes an entire minute to do this. Then, red station G2XYZ looks over his list of stations calling CQ and double-clicks on K1ABC. This causes JT65 to send K1ABC G2XYZ IO91. Then, the blue station gives a signal report of -19. Huh? Well, scientists seem to like to measure everything relative to a standard, such as a milliwatt or some such, and then -19 means 19 dB below that reference standard. Note this has to do with how well the software hears the other station. It does not take into account factors such as antenna type or size, or the amount of noise the receiver introduces, and so on. Anyway, scientists such as Joe live in a world of negative signal strengths. Let's forgive them for that. Now, the red station replies with an R, meaning it received the signal report, and then appends its own signal report, in this case -22. Note that -22 is a very faint signal, and more likely you'll see stronger signals, meaning a less negative number. JT65 cannot send a signal strength report larger than 0. Anyway, there's only one thing left, and that is for the blue station to acknowledge that it received the signal report with RRR, though some send R73. Then the red station completes the final courtesies by sending 73. Note, and this is vitally important, you don't type any of this into the computer. It's all generated by the software. Let's take a moment to talk about grid squares. Hams use the Maidenhead system for location reporting. You can find websites that will tell you what your grid square is. I'll put a link to one in the text accompanying this video. Squares are hierarchical. DM covers a huge amount of territory. DM68 is a square, or actually a rectangle, number 68 inside of DM. JT65 uses 4-digit grid squares, so each square covers a large area, as shown on this map of Colorado. A single 4-digit grid square can cover several small countries. Thus, you have to rely not only on the grid square, but also the station's prefix to tell which country the station is in. As an aside, note that if you go to the next step, to a 6-digit grid square, you can really narrow things down. I live in DM68CG, as shown on the map of Colorado. In any event, JT65 relies on the grid square concept to convey location. The last slide before we cut to the chase is this timing diagram. Each transmission has a 1-minute cycle. The actual transmission starts 1 second after UTC 0 seconds and carries on to about the 47th second mark. The system needs a few seconds to decode this. So if another station calls CQ, you won't see that CQ until the 52-second mark. You have from then until straight up 0 to decide if you want to answer. Assuming you do, then your transmission starts 1 second after the minute starts. In other words, all decisions about whether to advance the QSO, repeat it, or abandon it must be made in that little 8-second window. Okay, now we're ready to look at a real JT65 recording and comment on the key features. All right, what we're doing now is we're clicking on this station, and it comes up over here under receive frequency. This is what we see here. And so now it's gone into transmit. It's going to take a full minute to do that transmit. And what we're sending is my grid square to him from me. Okay? So you can read this across. This is the time in UTC. Decibels, this is the actual signal report. And DT is the time difference from UTC as determined by the piece of software. And then this is the frequency in hertz above the reference frequency over here, 1706. So this would be 14077205 hertz. And that particular little hashtag means that we are transmitting JT65 rather than JT9. Okay, it gets up to the point here where now it's finished. Now over here on this right here where you see the thing here, when it's not transmitting, when the stations aren't transmitting, you should adjust this slider so it's about 30 dB with no signals. Right now we are receiving, and in receiving we're going to find out if this particular station will come back to us. So note what we've got here, log QSO, although this can be automatic at the end. Stop means to just quit the whole thing. Monitor is what we're doing now. We're listening or receiving. One click on the erase will erase the received frequency box. A double click will erase everything. Okay. Decode turns blue when the system is decoding, which we'll do in moments here. We've enabled transmit by clicking on it. We can halt at any time. There's also a tune feature over here. Okay, we're getting up here. Decode. Look, that came back to us here. So note that I am nudging the QSO forward. Instead of sending the grid, now I'm going to send that I've received it plus the dB. This right here is telling me what message went out. GC6BTC from KE0OG received. Your signal is R-3. Now this up here, this little green dot indicates that the system's happy in terms of communicating with my radio. This is the dial frequency on the radio. This down here, you can put the call on DX, in this case means the other guy, where the grid is. Azimuth 349 degrees and distance 1082 miles. You can also do that in kilometers. This gives the time, UTC time. This particular bar down here at the bottom tells how far you are along on the second. Okay, we just went back to monitor. Again, you want to pull this down to about 30 dB, so it's running just a little bit high. And now we nudge the QSO forward. We're going to send the 73. Okay, so we're receiving from the other guy right now. Okay. And when we receive from him, hopefully we'll get some sort of a 73. What we do need from him is an R, indicating that he got the signal report. And then everything's gone both ways and everything's been confirmed. Right up here, this means transmit on the even seconds or the odd seconds. The transmit frequency as a set off from here. Okay. You can also get to this directly from the waterfall diagram. This gives the signal report, which is the one that we're giving him right there, okay, that just went out. We're monitoring. It's almost time. Here comes the decode. There it is right there. We got an RR73 from him. So I'm going to nudge the QSO to its last by clicking on the 73. Note that all the work that I'm doing is if they come back with the grid, click on R plus 73, click on 73. If you were calling CQ, you'd click here to call it, and then you've got the other half of the conversation, as I indicated earlier, and that's what you'd end with. You can also end with a free text message. Thanks 73, good luck, is what it's saying right there. Just a few odds and ends. Note that while you are transmitting, you're doing so at 100% duty cycle. So for the usual modern single sideband rig, that means about 25 watts maximum. You can likely do lots with less power than that. Also, you should configure your radio to do as little processing of the incoming and outgoing signals as possible. The manual suggests even turning the AGC off. But also turn off any digital filters or signal processing. And lastly, this is a QRP mode. Everyone's on a level playing field. So give it a try. Once you've got the hang of it, you can sit back and watch the QSOs roll in. Now, regarding this video, in a moment, 3 boxes will show up on the screen. If you click on the one with my face, you can subscribe to my channel, and I urge you to do so. If you click on the tip jar, it will take you to the one on my website. And lastly, if you click on the one that looks like a video thumbnail, you'll be taken to the playlist for Ask Dave. Until we next meet, 73.